Okie dokie. So on this next assignment here, I wanted to kind of go over that. But before I did, I'd like to go back and let me get out of the grade center here and put this over on the other screen. I'd like to go back and show you just a couple things from the ones that I graded. Um, so you probably were wondering why I was like so critical about like when you made a desk and it was supposed to be 30 inches high and you made it 2'9" and 11 and a half high. The reason is SketchUp really rewards absolute accuracy. So after I taught the class on Josh's students a couple years back, and they were done with the class, in a future term, they were trying to model a house for energy modeling, and they could not get the roof to close properly. And it literally was one dimension was a 16th of an inch off from the other one on the other end, and that roof wouldn't close as a plane. It made all these other planes trying to close that shape. So just the nature of the tools that we're working with requires accuracy to get a decent looking model. Now, for energy modeling, I'm not sure what level of accuracy Josh is looking for, but for the architectural end, for what we're doing on my program, we need to get that accurate just so that the model actually looks like it's supposed to, where everything, if it's like one plane, it looks like one plane. I don't know if you've ever had that happen where you think it was going to make a plane, but it was a little bit off and you ended up having to draw more lines, or it made like a diagonal line trying to make it into a plane. So that's why we're concerned about accuracy. The other thing I'd like to point out is that I know your program deals with solar a lot, and one of the more complicated things to model is the roof. And I'm not sure it's that critical for energy modeling apart from solar shading if you get into that. I think that's where it's really important for energy modeling is solar shading, but it would also be important for like solar panel access is like one part of the building shading the roof or is one roof shading the other roof. And so I just wanted to show you that you can, in fact, locate this model in a geographic area and then turn on the shadows. And you can get the exact shadows on, November 8th at 1:30 p.m. And see exactly what windows are going to be shaded and what parts of the roof are going to be shaded at that time. So that's why we got to model the roof accurately. Um, the other thing I wanted to point out is the importance of tags. So tags are this thing here, and they're in AutoCAD, they're called layers. And you make a tag by clicking on the plus. And on this assignment, I asked you to tag the garage and the porch separately. So you can once you get that tag made, you can so like if I highlight this item here, so what I did basically is I highlighted all the garage related stuff. And then I go up and I look at entity information, and it used to be untagged, but I made it tag for a garage. So that lets SketchUp know that everything with that tag on it is the garage. Now, the beauty of that is that I can go in there and turn off the garage and have full. Remember, I showed you last time how to hide things temporarily, but that's kind of like a pain in the butt to do that a lot. So I made it so that I could hide that garage and then I could come in and make sure the door was in the right location and I had the correct materials as far as energy modeling materials applied. And I also made one tag for the porch here. Um, so that's what I was going to talk about on that one. Now I'm going to close this one and show you the one you're going to be working on for this week's assignment. So let me open Trimble Connect. So we're going to be doing 516. Now I mentioned before that the first two have lots of tutorials and they're actually more complicated than the second two. But then the second two, for the last two assignments for this class, they don't have tutorials, but they're simpler buildings. So I'm going to not save this. And this one doesn't have an attached garage, but there's a couple special points I'd like to point out. Um, this one, this part of the roof is complicated to draw. So you need to watch the tutorial on this one. Um, I think the project that the sketch the Josh's students came up and asked me for help with that Josh had given them later. I think they were a version of this building because the city builds multiple versions. It just flips them around and does it. So they were having trouble getting this one, especially this front hip roof porch to close and to work properly. And it all was a matter of like one of these little lines here that they were trying to line up with the rest of the lines on the house was literally like a 16th of an inch off, and then nothing worked. None of this roof stuff was working on that side of the house. So the other point I'd like to make about this house is that the reality, I think for energy, again, I want you to be accurate, but the reality, once you have the windows the right size, it's nice to have them accurately placed so we can see if they're going to be shaded or whatever. But what's really critical on this one is that some of the basement windows are actually located fully in that basement foundation wall, which has its own R value. That's the one below grade. The one above grade I've got painted with brick. And you're seeing that the windows on this side of the house, they're like half into the basement and then they're half into the basement above grade. So they're like partially below grade and partially fully above grade. And I think that will have an impact on your both the area of your material and the energy model performance of it. So I do have a tag on this one. It's not quite as clean as the tag on the other house where you turned off the porch and everything turned off and you turned off the garage and everything turned off. I just wanted to give you a little bit of repetition on this assignment. So I did ask for the front porch to be on a tag. So I'm going to show my tag on the front porch and turned off. So I basically kept that roof since it's so complicated attached to the house, but I turned off everything down below on the porch on the tag. So that's what I'm looking for the tag on that. Now, the other thing that's important is this one's nice and straightforward because north is up. So in order to have the solar axis right, we need to have it oriented right. So when you draw it and plan for the first time, north is up typically on, it's like a graphic standard, and that's what this is drawn. So you can draw this in SketchUp in plan view exactly the way it's shown here. Now, if you don't draw it with north up, when you start turning the shadows on, you notice that north's not up. It's very easy to draw a box around everything and rotate it however many degrees you need to do to get north to be up. So the assignment here, it does still have tutorials on it. And the other good thing that this house, on the first house, Josh wants us to use the rough opening and not the actual window for the locating the size of the window. And I think the reason for that is that when you have a window and then you have that gap around it with the rough opening, that needs to be modeled as that rough opening is like part of that overall window U value. It's like when it's installed in there. But this one is nice enough that if you look at this closely, they gave us the rough opening on a window schedule. So I just kind of reproduced this on the assignment that's up on Blackboard. Um, and then I did note that those basement windows have two different elevations on where they're located, just like I showed. And I do want the front porch on a tag, just like I showed. But the complex part of this is to get that front roof, that front porch hip roof properly. So watch that video for sure on that one. Okay, that's all I got for now. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
I'm actually at the roof right now.
Oh, you are on that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've had a lot of problems.